Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
So I was just telling my partner that I'm glad that you'll be the light and the bright here because, it's my job to be the shadow today. So, um,
Happy solstice.
yes. And this is such a big day for me. I love that that it's the longest day since my birthday's the shortest day. So this is just I woke up this morning about 4 and watched the light come up. So um, I would like to talk about what this dullness to fluorescence through the pathway of magnetism, what is that? And how can we embody it more? All the different phases, how to know when we're actually embodying dullness, and how would it feels like maybe to embody fluorescence. Wouldn't that be fun? And the other piece is how can community make a difference as we play with this gene key? So those are my questions for you today. Nothing light and airy.
No pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of times when life is ho hum, we like create some kind of drama or something to like get us out of it, to create something, some different energy, right? And so what if instead, because what if instead we embrace dull, like jump into that dullness?
Okay.
When because polarity, when you think of the energy, it's either high or low. But what happens if we're right in the middle and we're not affected by anything?
Well, so I have a question around that. So I woke up this morning and I have a really intense sinus headache thing going on, and it's around my left eye. So I'm going, okay. So I can feel the dullness of that. I can feel it literally in the pain, right? And that I just want to go back to sleep. I want to check out. So I actually want to go dark or go invisible.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's the same as turning off your light in a dull way, or maybe it is. So that was my one question. And the other one is, what I don't know if I can feel when I'm in that so deeply and allowing it to be that versus fighting it, which is my used to be what I would do. How can I allow the gift to emerge? Right? Because I'm like, if I'm going, okay, I'm waiting for the gift, then I get I know it's there. Come on. So or how does it flow from sitting with it in the shadow? Anyway, do you have thoughts around that?
Well, I don't know about the pain, the dullness of the pain, but I definitely know that when we think, okay, our life is magical and it's unicorns and rainbows, and when it's not, how can we embrace that part of the complete ordinary? When you're washing your dishes or showering or cleaning or doing the day-to-day things, how can your ordinary be absolutely extraordinary? And be okay in that what you would perceive as possibly dullness of the ordinary things in life?
Yeah. I think we
don't
celebrate. Yeah, we don't celebrate ordinary very much. We celebrate the highs.
Right.
We feel into the lows.
Right.
But that appreciating everything as it is.
Yeah.
I remember reading about that gratitude for just, and noticing all that is right, you know,
Right.
because our brains are wired, love these brains, our brains are wired to look for what's wrong. And so there could be, you know, as most of us women, especially high achieving women know, we know that we'll scan the landscape. There's 98% of things that are perfect, but we will find those two things that are out of place, you know, that don't feel right, that are bothering us in some way. And I know I do that. Versus, can I find, oh my God, if I look at the other 98 things, there's a lot that's really pretty beautiful, you know? Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I was just looking at the repressive nature is this emptiness, you know, it's different from boredom. It's a restless energy that is all about just kind of feeling into almost like depression. But that's, people get stuck sometimes of being afraid of fear itself. And so you just feel completely, it's preventing that feeling of emptiness. You know, it's pushing it away. And then likewise, the reactive nature is the extremist. So you basically will continue to escape through denial. Like, this isn't real. It's only when you see your own pattern that you can stop yourself from running from it.
Yes. And since this is my evolution, I actually feel like I've done both of those. I think earlier in my life, before I got kind of aware of my patterns, I was a runner, like, let me go find something else to fill in the space. I couldn't stand not having a full calendar and something booked every minute of every day. And now I'm in the place of, oh God, there's so much emptiness. What do I do with that? And that is, it's, yeah, it's still my evolution, I guess. Does it? I guess it always is my evolution. So,
well, yeah, I was just thinking about one of the, you know, the greatest, I like this. It says, the greatest challenge for modern humanity is to learn to slow down. And so, you know, part of it is go, 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 make things go, you know, just constantly. And I thought about that when I, you know, used to work 80 hours a week. And I felt like that was supposed to, you know, I just needed to do that. And
yeah.
That was just an experience that taught me that it wasn't good for my body. It wasn't in alignment for what I needed to do, because it, you know, parts of my body were breaking down. And so this key ties a lot with the Schumann resonance. So it's really listening to the earth and to Mother Gaia and being able to synchronize and align with the juiciness and the flow, the natural ebb and flow of our cycles.
And as Richard calls it, it is a pulse. Mm-hmm. And did you watch that video that he did on numbness?
No.
It was in the newsletter about this gene key. And what I loved about it is he said numbness is actually an emotion. And feeling into the numb, a lot of times it's where we go because we're feeling so much that we can't. So we choose this. And I always thought it was an absence of emotion. He actually said it's an antidote to feeling too much. But what he says in there is he talks about the Schumann resonance, and he talks about these pausing, you know, that we're doing the pauses now, pausing to tune back into Mother Earth's heartbeat. And how, just like our heart, there's an expansion and a contraction. You know, the blood is doing its thing. It's pumping it, right? And then it's pulling it in, then it's pumping. So we are just like that. And we tend to think, oh, I need to be pumping all the time, which isn't a natural flow. That was really, really helpful to me to feel into, this is just a pause. This is not the way my life always is. And just because this is going on right now, can I find the gift in that? So I want to speak to you a little bit about magnetism.
Okay.
Because to me, I always felt like that was kind of a receptive, like, first of all, we have to turn on the receptive qualities. Otherwise, we're repelling everything. If we've got our boundaries too tight and our heart too, guarded down. So it's a softening that allows the receiving of what's coming forth, love, joy, fluorescence, or not, and being with it. But the other thing is, can we turn it on? I mean, can we choose to be magnetic? Or is it just a state that we open ourselves to?
I wonder if it's more just your naturalness. And this key is tied to naturalness. Funny that. Where
I like work.
Which is, it's your aura. It's you emanating. And when you're in alignment with just being you, how can you not but just magnetize the energy that's working with you as you navigate through your aura. And you don't necessarily have to do anything.
So it's maybe, I feel like it's what my life lesson has been about relaxing into it, relaxing into my natural state of magnetism, allowing it to be, right? I learned that about love some years ago, that if I just stop trying to make it happen and allow it to come in, oh my goodness gracious.
It happens.
So it does.
So it's a part of really trusting again.
Yes, and which is another big word he kept speaking about. So I have so even though this is my gene key and I've played with it for what, 8, 9, how long we've been playing with the gene keys, 10 years. It doesn't, I can't even come up with words to describe fluorescence. I think I've peaked it, or felt it, but I don't know. And I wouldn't know, how do we allow ourselves to open so much to that bright shininess? Seems scary.
I think it's related to acceptance and truly accepting who you are and allowing others to accept, like letting them. It's like live and let live. I just found this one aspect here. Fluorescence cannot be predicted. There are certain signs that may appear before it occurs. If we look into the 10th gene key, the gift of naturalness, which is the programming partner of the 15th gene key, we find a clue. When a person becomes truly natural and comfortable with who they are, when they become truly accepting of theirs and others' lives, they are close to flowering. Fluorescence is experienced when awareness finally comes to a rest, because only when awareness stops seeking itself can it truly rest.
So that's that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That was a beautiful quote. Thank you. It's funny how many times you can read something and it doesn't hit you until it like hits you, I felt like that one in my body. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And it also says the ancients and sages said that the mind must be still and that all thought must stop in order for reality to be perceived.
I love that.
So the chatter just doesn't need to be there. And then you can see the vastness of it and the energy of the expansion of that.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you. I think that I think too much about how to get there versus just allowing myself to drop into it or to open to it or soften into it or relax. Okay. So my final question, you notice I turned into interview mode today, um, is how can community, I'm already answering it right now by talking to you about it. How can community help us with the dullness, magnetism, fluorescence? I mean, I think dullness and magnetism is a much more uh, palpable kind of thing that we can actually all relate to, and fluorescence is just maybe the icing on the cake. But if we are in communion, in a community environment, in a safe, sacred circle, how does that support us in either acknowledging our dullness or opening into our magnetism more, allowing ourselves to flower?
I think when someone sees another person completely at ease with themselves, that resonates. That has its own power in and of itself, so that somebody else can then fully appreciate and accept themselves exactly where they are. They don't have to race anywhere. And I think if we can see that in community, like you can try to do this all on your own, but I think that having these kinds of conversations definitely helps just remember in our system, in our somatics, what we came here to work together. So
Yeah. Yes. And I know that I can do that for others. I don't know how often I've allowed others to be that for me. It's one of those, I just saw this somewhere, about how important it is to ask for support, but also allow ourselves to be supported versus this whole thing of, sorry, I just hit my table, of pushing away. I got this. I'm okay. All that programming, that cultural, or whether it's in our ancestral DNA or whatever, or that whole thing about I can handle it versus, oh gosh, I so welcome your
yeah,
love and support right now. I
well,
actually need it.
I think it's all about what comes from like being self-sufficient, or we're all responsible for our own thoughts, beliefs, actions, and so we feel like we need to do it by ourselves. So that kind of makes sense. But knowing that you can be in community and be fully accepted as you are, that's a gift. That's I
Absolutely.
I know that um, when I'm hurting or that I'm feeling awful, yeah, I do want to curl up and just kind of be still. But there is times where I know, like, when I need help, that I say, okay, I, I ask for my higher guidance, but it's also good to talk to somebody on this earthly plane um, to get support as well.
Yeah.
So,
And um, anyway, I have a whole different appreciation of this kind of support ever since I was in, some of the women's circles back in the, 80s and 90s, not 80s, but 90s, and I can see, but even then I was guarded. And
yeah,
then I can see how it opened. And, when you and when we were living together, that was one of the hugest openings for me because I was safe. I
right.
could be ugly and messy and have a sinus headache and not feel well. And you still loved me. And I didn't feel like I had to hide that and act like everything was okay. There's
Yeah,
something beautiful and healing about that. So again, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any practices or I already feel so much better. Maybe it's any practices that you might want to suggest for this gene key to support the magnetic flowering that we are able to experience?
Well, it's been interesting with the Schumann resonance. It's been changing quite a bit in the past. I mean, it always changes, but it's been pretty intense during the past week. And and just, you know, grounding yourself, being in nature. Another practice would be to, you know, put your hand on your belly and you can make a sound. It's related to ooh.
Ooh.
It's a D note. I don't have the D note like memorized in my head, but if you want to find a D note and just ooh, and just let that sound reverberate in your body, and, you know, go back into your sacral area and just hold your womb space and be present to what you're creating. Because this is all related, this particular gene key is related to the liver. So
Lovely, lovely. And the one thing that I got from that overcoming numbness teaching or transmission of Richard Rudd's was so fascinating, because it's what I do and I didn't even realize it. One of the things I love about when we go to our little country place every other week or whatever is to sit on the back deck, which is up really high. It's almost like you're in a tree house, and you look out and everything is green. There's just green trees and green grasses and green lawns, and even the lichen on the boulders is all green right now because of all the rain. And that is the most healing thing. And he said, find something green and allow that green, like open your heart and just like welcome in the green, like you're breathing it in. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think that's why I'm happy there. And I come back to the city and I'm like, so now I'm like, you can still find something green. You have plenty of plants, Deborah. So, so I'm wondering about playing with that practice here in the city to see if I can get to that same, because I do feel like I'm in the Mother Earth heartbeat when I'm there. I just drop in, because everybody that talks to me, they're like, you must be at the river. I can hear it in your voice. So,
and that part of it is like, how can you do this practice? Or it is literally about doing the work anywhere, you know?
Yeah, I mean, even the breathing in with the chanting of the ooh, and just be hanging out in nature or next to a plant, or, you know, I could go out on this midsummer night in my neighborhood thinks I'm weird anyway, but go out and hug that big oak tree, right? The big grandmother oak out front, and just tell her, I need you need a little of your energy, darling. Grounded and beautiful. Okay, thank you. I'm going to combine all of those things. So I want to thank you for your morning musing with me this morning. It really made a difference. And I love you. And for everyone else who might be hearing this, I just want to say thank you for being who you are, because that's what makes this so beautiful, because we're all in this soup together. So I love you.
Love you.
See ya.
Yeah.